Yeah. Great. So, thank you very much. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our monthly masterclass session. It's my pleasure to host this series. We are doing it consistently from last 5 years. So, again, our idea of this masterclass is to just get uh, senior folks like Ashish to come and share their insights about markets, investing behavior, and whatnot. So we thought let's have a session every month to hear these valuable insights. Yeah. So let me just first of all, happy New Year to everyone, and I think. As we step in 2025, it's a wonderful time to reflect on our financial journey and lessons we have learned in last year. And I'm sure Ashish has a lot of lessons for us to share today. And so I'll be very happy to hear Ashish's view on that. So financial success is often less about what we earn or acquire. It's more about our behavior or choices we make. It is a subtle art of managing our emotions, making informed choices, and thinking long term. That's what been my understanding of this entire game has been from last 20 years working with clients managing their money. So again, last 1 year, I had the privilege of working with a business coach to work on my business, not in the business. That is what has been taught to me, and I felt that in a similar way, investing also require in working on the investments, not in the investment. I think a lot of people have been micromanaging, getting trading, getting themselves into that short-term philosophy, due to which I have also seen a lot of accidents happening in investing. And I'm sure Ashish has a lot of stories to share with us today. So, without much ado, let me give a quick introduction about Ashish. Ashish doesn't need an introduction, but still, let me give a quick information about Ashish. He's a Bachelor of Engineer in Polymer Science, and he's a MBA from NMIMS Mumbai University. His professional experience include work with ICICI AMC, where he led the sales and distribution. Again, after that, he has served as a MD and CEO at Motilal Oswal Asset Management. Under his leadership, Motilal grew from 1,300 crores to 42,000 crores. Again, recently he joined as almost Ashish 3 years now, right, at WhiteOak?
It's 4.5 years.
Sorry, 4.5 years, where he currently serve as a CEO, is responsible for strategizing, growing, and managing operations at WhiteOak, focusing on delivering value to clients through disciplined investment approaches. Again, Ashish is passionate about investing, reading, sales, marketing, communication, training, teaching, writing, public speaking. So much, right? He enjoys traveling. I think you are with your bag, Ashish. How many times in a month? 10 times, 15 times?
Yeah, I mean, all my morning walks are on the airport. So,
My God. So no wonder you are so fit. You're so fit. So I know you enjoy traveling and meeting new people, bringing a wealth of knowledge and experience. Again, he'll bring this in our discussions today. So thank you very much, Ashish, for joining us. And without much ado, I will open the floor to you. But before that, we have a quick poll, Ashish, where
Haji.
we will just get a quick view about what all attendees are feeling about it. So
Of course.
we will just run this poll. Request everyone to please give this poll. Request everyone to take the poll, please. We want this session to be very interactive. So unless we don't get your feedback, I think we'll not start. So Ashish, my questions are, first question was, what factors will most influence your portfolio and markets in 2025? So my answers were, return of Donald Trump as US president, US Fed will continue as to pull the strings, Indian growth story will survive, or my behavior and goal focused approach. 47% people are saying my behavior and goal focused approach. So we have a very good audience here. I'm sure you will like it. Second question is, how often do you adjust your portfolio during periods of macro uncertainty? And I think 56% people say quarterly. They review their portfolio, rebalance their portfolio quarterly. I don't know whether it's a right approach or not, but yes, most of them are saying that. Third question is, what do you prioritize in your investment strategy? First is risk management, second is return maximization, and third is a mix of both, and fourth is liquidity. We have 78% people saying that risk management and return maximization. These are the two most important things they do. Uh, Question fourth was, which asset class do you think will perform the best in 2025? 53% people feel equity. Guys, I feel you will be disappointed in 2025, but let's see what will happen. Commodities, 32% feel. Again, within equity, which sub asset class will do well in 2025? 42% feel large cap, 47% feel flexi cap, and 26% feel mid cap, and 16% feel small caps. So, Ashish, this is some data points for you, what audience is feeling currently. I think it's a good start for you to, yes. I think just unmute yourself, Ashish. One second, Ashish. Yeah. Yeah, you can unmute Ashish.
Yeah, I
Okay.
clicked it by mistake. Yes. Yeah.
No problem.
So can
Yes.
you
So,
repeat the last one which you said, large cap, mid cap, small cap? What is the vote?
so 53% feel large caps and 25% feel flexi cap.
Sure.
So, Ashish, floor is all yours. You can start.
Thank you. Yep. So good evening, everyone. And, thank you very much, Tarun, for inviting me. And, thanks to entire TBNG team. Uh, I just want to point out one thing that, when you do a poll and when you read the answers, it's quite possible that everybody wants to give the right answer instead of saying what they actually do.
Right.
Because a lot of
Yes.
polls, it happens that people try to figure out what is the right answer rather than saying what exactly they are doing. It's just the
Right.
psychology.
Yes.
We
Yes.
all are brainwashed in school that we have to get highest marks, so we have to give the right answer, right? So, but thank you very much for inviting me, and giving me the opportunity to speak to all the participants here. What I'll do is that, I have a short presentation. I have a short presentation where, 2025, what are the learnings from 2024, and what one can expect from 2025. And, of course, a lot of the things which you asked in your poll, maybe I'll end up throwing at least our learning or our perspective on some of these things. But, first of all, when we started, we said that, managing the portfolio in, when there are macro challenges or, expectations. So one of the things, when I travel, like you rightly said, I travel a lot, 15 days in a month, I'm out on the road and I meet a lot of investment advisors, mutual funds, advisors, family offices, high net worth investors, like investors like, affluent and HNI investors, large gatherings. So wherever I travel, I get the opportunity to meet people and understand, from them what they are thinking, correct? And Tarun, whenever you travel, what you notice is that everybody would like to know. Like say, for example, today if I travel, people would like to know that 20th January, Mr. Trump will become the president. So what will be the impact on my portfolio? What will be the impact on markets? And hence, what will be the impact on my portfolio? Right? Like say, for example, in 2024, people would have wanted to know that, after general election, it was a surprise. So people want to know that what is the impact of this government formation on the markets, In 2023, people would want to know that, if you remember March 2023, Silicon Valley Bank, Signature Bank, all this went under. People thought there's going to be a new Lehman crisis. So people would want to know that, okay, if this happens, what happens to my portfolio? In 2022, people wanted to know if we actually are on the brink of World War III, so what will happen to our portfolio, right? So what you will notice is that at every juncture in the market, people would want to know that if 1, 2, 3, 4 things happen, or if X, Y, Z or ABC happens, then what will happen to our portfolio? And for all such concerns or all such discussions, what I always tell people is that the risk is not in the market. The risk is in your portfolio. The risk is not in the market. The risk is in your portfolio. The examples which I'm giving you, it tells you that people are looking for risk in the market. And what will happen if Mr. Trump becomes president? What will happen if there is a missile thrown on Russia and it lands very close to the Kremlin, for example, right? So everybody is looking for risks which may emanate from the market. But I already told you that in 2022, people were worried about Third World War and oil going to $200. In 2023, people were worried about a reincarnation of Lehman Brothers. In 2024, people were worried about change in government. In 2025, people are worried what will happen after 20th January, right? So what happens that every year, market में तो कुछ ना कुछ लगा ही रहता है. Market is market, right? And everybody keeps tracking the market and keeps trying to understand कि market में ऐसा होगा तो मेरे portfolio में क्या होगा, market में वैसा होगा तो मेरे portfolio में क्या होगा. The point is the market is a market. Market में हमेशा कुछ ना कुछ होता ही रहेगा, right? So the risk is not in the market. The risk is in the portfolio. So to elaborate this, let me give you 2, 3 anecdotes or 2, 3 examples, and then I'll share some data from my presentation. So let's take an example. Tarun, you're going to, let's say you're driving towards some place and you decide that, okay, you want to have a coffee. So you tell your driver, stop the car. You go to the nearest Starbucks or nowadays Tim Hortons, and you say that, okay, come back in 10 minutes and pick me up. I'm buying my coffee. So you go to the coffee shop, you buy a coffee, and you come out after 5, 7 minutes. You're standing on the footpath with a mug of coffee, and your driver is supposed to come back and pick you up. Now, when you are standing with this cup of coffee or a glass of coffee, somebody comes running carelessly, they're not looking where they're going, and they give you a push. So, Tarun, what will happen when somebody, if you're holding with that hot cup of coffee and somebody ends up pushing you, what will fall out? What will happen?
Coffee will fall, right?
Why will the coffee fall out? So the obvious thing is कि भाई ग्लास में कॉफी है तो कॉफी गिरा, अगर जूस होता
Coffee
तो
है.
जूस गिरता, चाय होता तो
Right,
चाय गिरता, और पानी होता तो पानी गिरता. बट
right,
इससे लर्निंग का क्या बात है कि भाई आप अगर कॉफी लेके निकलते हैं तो किसी का धक्का आपको लग ही सकता है, लेकिन
right,
आपके अंदर से तो वही गिरेगा जो आपके पास है, विच इज द कॉफी, राइट?
right.
So it may not be clear with one example. Let me give you a couple of more examples. If you so let's say if I ask you a question, कि भाई, say, in India, every couple of 100 kilometers, the food habit change. Let's say we both go to South and we order
Yeah,
for dinner, right? Now, a lot of these places where they serve a thali is very popular. I mean, that's what one eats. So let's say we
yeah.
order a thali, and typically, Tarun, when you order a thali in South of India, what do you expect to see, right? I mean, if there is a thali, what will be the predominant thing in the center of the thali? What do you expect to see? What do you expect the picture to be like? You expect
Sambar,
rice, right?
yeah,
That's how you would visualize it. Like even in Calcutta, for example, you eat fish and rice, and so that's what you visualize. Now you change your visualization, and I ask you that where there is rice, you place full, pickle with chilies, and where there is pickle, you place rice. And now I ask you that, Tarun, after we finish this dinner, what is the chance I'll have a gastric problem?
very high.
So you say, भाई पूछने का क्या है? अगर तुम ऐसा तुम्हारा थाली है तो पक्का होने वाला है. पूछने का क्या है उसमें, right? Let me give you one more example. Let's say there is a soccer match. There are 11 players on both sides. Now I say that,
Hmm.
no, today I am determined that in the first half I have to score 2 goals at least.
Hmm.
So, my entire team is playing in your penalty area. I am in an attacking format, okay? And I put my entire team in your penalty area saying I'm determined to score a goal. And then I ask you, what is the probability that you will score a goal against me? बोलेगा, अरे भाई तू अपना गोल छोड़ के सामने वाले के गोल पोस्ट में खेल रहा है, The moment you lose ball possession, तो पक्का तुम्हारे पे गोल मारेगा ना वो. If you have
Right.
left your goal undefended and you are always trying to score a goal where your goal is undefended, तो पूछने का क्या है ना, उसमें सामने वाला पक्का गोल मारेगा.
Right.
So see, all these questions, it may be seemingly unconnected, but what will happen to my portfolio if Mr. Trump becomes president? What will happen if somebody bangs into me when I'm holding a cup of coffee? What will happen to me if I eat pickle instead of rice and rice instead of pickle? And what will happen to me if I leave my goal unguarded and try to go all out in an offense? All four are unrelated questions, but all four are in the same plane. That basically you're saying, that, bhai, you're worried about external macros, whereas you are not focusing on your own portfolio, right? So the point is that अगर market में कुछ भी होगा तो उसका असर वही होगा depending on how your portfolio is, right? What can the market do? The market will only test whether your portfolio can weather some volatility or not, and whether your portfolio is constructed as per your risk appetite or not. So you have to make a portfolio which will allow you to sleep peacefully under all market conditions. क्योंकि market का क्या है? Market में तो हमेशा कुछ ना कुछ लगा ही रहता है. Correct? So if we are leaving our goalpost unguarded and then worrying about the other person scoring a goal, then I think तो होना ही है कभी ना कभी तो, right? So that's why I started by saying that the risk is always in your portfolio. Risk is not in the markets. Everybody looks for risk in the market. But market तो market है. Market में हमेशा कुछ ना कुछ लगा रहता है. The risk is not in the market. The risk is in your portfolio. So now it behooves us to kind of understand कि भाई ये बार-बार हम बोल रहे हैं कि risk is not in the market, risk is in your portfolio. तो let's understand. Now I'm not talking about people only who are attending our call. I'm talking about investors at large, because where are investors investing? While, everybody is worried about macros and about external and environment, etc., etc. So let's first understand कि भाई where are people actually investing? And by people, I don't mean people on this call. I'm talking about industry data, and I'm taking investors at large or investors in general. Correct? So I'm just going to start. Not going to run this presentation in sequence, but I'm just going to start with particular data. Now let's look at this. What does this data say? And then I'll come to how investors have been investing. So first, let me explain what this table is. So this actually says that active equity and hybrid mutual funds last 12 months. So we are on 2nd January now, right? So December data is not updated, but this is data as of 30th November. And what does it say? It says that in the last 12 months, where have mutual fund investors invested their money? On top, it is equity funds, bottom, it is hybrid funds. Here it is the inflow. This is inflow minus redemption, which is net flow. And this is the assets under management. So let's focus on the net flow. Now, what does this data say? There is no conclusion to be drawn, just some observations I want to share with you. This data says that in the last 12 months, mutual fund investors have parked 3,85,000 crores into equity mutual funds. Okay, last 12 months, 3,85,000 crores has been invested into equity mutual funds. Out of this 3,85,000 crores, 1,48,000 crores or nearly 40% has gone into thematic funds. Large cap, जो जिसको आप blue chip बोलते हैं या A list बोलते हैं, the big companies, top 100 companies in terms of their market value, that has received only 17,430 crores or 5%. Whereas bulk of the money gone, 38% is thematic. Acha, these thematic funds, what are these thematic funds? Defense, infrastructure, railway, PSU, energy, utilities. ये thematic funds कोई banking, IT, pharma, consumer नहीं है. इसका मतलब क्या है कि ये जो thematic funds हैं, ये ज्यादातर they will be micro cap, small cap, mid cap. The second highest you will see is multi-cap. Multi-cap funds are also about 70-75% small and mid-cap. Then there is large and mid-cap, which is again half or more mid-cap. Then there is purely mid-cap. Then there is small cap. So net, what does this data show? This data shows just observation, no conclusions. This data shows that the biggest companies in the market, which is large cap, investors have put only 5% of their money in large cap. Now, somebody who is a keen observer of data can say कि अरे भाई मल्टी कैप फंड का 30% लार्ज कैप में होता है तो ठीक है इसका 3 ले लो. लार्ज एंड मिड कैप फंड में भी 40-50% लार्ज कैप होता है, चलो ठीक है इसका 4 ले लो. फ्लेक्सी कैप फंड में भी 60% लार्ज कैप होता है तो 60-70% तो ये 7 ले लो. आप किसी भी तरीके से डेटा को एनालाइज करोगे ना, व्हाट यू विल फाइंड इज दैट less than 20% of investors' money has gone into large cap. Okay. This is just one observation, and bulk of the money has gone into small and mid cap. This is last 12 months of flow into mutual funds. So just observe this data and park this right now. Now I want to show you one more piece of information. What is this piece of information? It tells you what is the lay of the land. Investors ने कहाँ पैसा डाला वो तो हमने देख लिया, चलो ठीक है. This tells you what is the lay of the land. What does it say? What is the market कैसा है? भाई हमने कहाँ पैसा डाला वो तो ठीक है. Market का construct क्या है? What is the market totally? So what it says is that large cap, which is top 100 companies, अगर आप total market capitalization लेते हैं, listed value of all companies in the stock market, तो जो large है ना top 100 companies, which are the largest companies in the country, they account for 60% of our total market cap. एक जमाने में ऐसा भी था जब मार्केट सेंटीमेंट खराब था, मार्केट मंदी में था, तो लार्ज कंपनीज दे वर 77% ऑफ द मार्केट कैप. एंड इफ यू टेक समवेयर मिड पॉइंट यू विल फाइंड दैट लार्ज कैप इज जनरली 70% ऑफ द टोटल मार्केट कैप ऑफ द लिस्टेड यूनिवर्स. And if you take small and mid cap, right now it is in excess of 40%. Small and mid cap नहीं, बल्कि small cap, mid cap, micro cap, because this take 251 onwards the entire tail. So if you take a bad market environment, small and mid cap is 23% of value. If you take average, small and mid cap is 30%. And if you take today, small and mid cap is more than 40% of the market value. तो अगर मैं आपको एक तरुण वी कैन जस्ट ओपाइन ऑन दिस बिकॉज यू आस्क्ड अ क्वेश्चन ऑन लार्ज कैप मिड कैप स्मॉल कैप. इफ आई आस्क यू दैट लेट अस से दैट देयर इज समबडी हु इज ए वेरी कंजर्वेटिव वेरी डिफेंसिव इन्वेस्टर जो इक्विटी में पैसा भी पहली पहली बार डर डर के डाल रहे हैं. अगर आपको ऐसा कंस्ट्रक्ट दिखे कि भाई बाजार में तो 70% लार्ज कैप है, मेजॉरिटी ऑफ द मार्केट वैल्यू इज ऑल लार्ज कैप कंपनीज, and small and mid cap is 30%, lot of the smaller, lesser proportion of the market. तो अगर एक कंजर्वेटिव इन्वेस्टर है जो रिस्क नहीं लेना चाहता है, उसका पोर्टफोलियो लार्ज कैप में कितना होना चाहिए?
आई थिंक मैक्सिमम
ज्यादा से ज्यादा लार्ज कैप. अगर एक बहुत ही एग्रेसिव इन्वेस्टर है तो उसका कितना होना चाहिए?
I think it should be at least 70%, 60 to 70% in large cap.
Aggressive investor है तो 60% large cap.
Yes.
और अगर कोई न्यूट्रल इन्वेस्टर है, मतलब मॉडरेट, तो they will keep in line with the market.
Right.
Because you're neutral. Right?
Yes.
Now see, when you see the market, what it tells you कि भाई market का 60-70% large cap है. तो एक मॉडरेट इन्वेस्टर, न्यूट्रल इन्वेस्टर जो है, उसको भी अपने पोर्टफोलियो में 60-70% लार्ज कैप रखना चाहिए. करेक्ट. बट सो एक न्यूट्रल या मॉडरेट इन्वेस्टर है, उसको अपने पोर्टफोलियो में 60-70% लार्ज कैप रखना चाहिए. बट वेयर आर पीपल एक्चुअली पुटिंग देयर मनी? Bulk of it is small cap, mid cap, and these themes also are such that they are dominated by small cap and mid cap, right? So you got a sense why I was talking about rice and pickle, right? The point is that बाजार में तो हमेशा, लाइक आई सेड, आई एम रिपीटिंग डेलिबरेटली, बाजार में तो हमेशा कुछ ना कुछ लगा ही रहता है. उसका असर आपके पोर्टफोलियो पे उतना ही होगा डिपेंडिंग ऑन वेयर योर पोर्टफोलियो इज पोजीशन. So what this data actually says, it may not be necessary for investors on this call, I'm talking in general. What this data actually suggests that in the last 3 years specifically, जितना लोगों के पोर्टफोलियो में लार्ज कैप होना चाहिए था उसके मुकाबले कम है, एंड स्मॉल एंड मिड कैप का वेटेज बहुत ही बढ़ गया है. राइट. सो मच सो कि अगर आप टोटल एयूएम लेंगे ना, टोटल एयूएम में लार्ज कैप 12% बचा है. टोटल एयूएम में थीमेटिक, small cap, mid cap, multi cap, large and mid cap, all these things have become very, very big in the total AUM and in the flow also. So in the last 3 years, what you will find is that in the last 3 years, in everybody's portfolio, small and mid cap exposure has gone up much more than what it used to be or what was originally designed. Exposure to sectors, which are thematics like PSU, cyclical sectors, oil, metal, commodity, railway, infrastructure, defense, PSU bank. All these things weightage has gone up a lot. क्यों weightage बढ़ता है? एक, because ये चीजें मार्केट में चली हैं, तो जो चीजें मार्केट में चलती है उनका weightage परफॉर्मेंस की वजह से बढ़ता है. दूसरी चीज, अच्छा लोग पैसा भी वहीं डालना चाहते हैं जहां पे इमीडिएट पास्ट में रिटर्न दिख रहा है. सो इंक्रीमेंटल मनी भी वहीं जा रहा है और पास्ट अप्रिसिएशन भी वहीं पे आ रहा है. So in a short span of time, like 2-3 years, what you find is that people's portfolios go off balance or people's portfolios start getting skewed in a particular direction. So what you will find is that in the last 3 years, maximum number of people's portfolios are overweight on micro cap, small cap, mid cap. They are overweight on value, contra cyclical. They are overweight on selected themes or sectors. And also how this has played out or how now the market is changing. Let us understand that because everybody and this is not about 31st December 2024. ऐसा नहीं कि भाई अब 1st January आ गया तो कल से मार्केट अलग चल रहा है. In fact, last 3 to 6 months, there are some trends in the market which are already changing. Like see, lot of times people are saying कि market बहुत चल गया. So let's understand market चल गया का क्या मतलब है. What has worked in the market and what has not worked. Let me come to that. Now, this data, this table has two parts of the data. इसमें सारे बड़े इंडाइसेस है लाइक निफ्टी 50, नेक्स्ट 50, 100, 150, 250 स्मॉल कैप, राइट. एंड नीचे ऑल द सेक्टर्स, you name it and we have it. Defense, PSU bank, PSU, real estate, auto, utilities, manufacturing, infra. नीचे IT, ESG, good governance, financial services, private sector banks, banks in general, commodities. All the sectors are here. All the big indices, diversified indices are here. Now, लोग बोलते हैं मार्केट बहुत चल गया. Look at it carefully. ये देखिए यहाँ पे निफ्टी है. What is Nifty return in last 1 year, 2 year, 3 year and 5 year? It's 10, 12, 15%. So Nifty is in line with its long-term average. अगर आप Nifty को देखते हैं, and this is total return index, dividend is added back. So Nifty in total is not as crazy as what people seem to think about it. Correct? But then you look at small cap, micro cap, small cap, mid cap, right? This is micro cap. Companies which are beyond 500 rank. This is small cap. And here it is mid cap. Now what you will find is that small cap, mid cap and micro cap, इसका जो रिटर्न है निफ्टी के मुकाबले दुगना तिगना रिटर्न दिया है. So small cap, micro cap, mid cap have given return 2 to 3 times of Nifty, whereas Nifty has given return which is in line with its average. Okay. Then you look at sectors. So ये जो ऊपर है ना, यहाँ पे I am marking something. If you look at the sectors in the top half, defense, PSU, real estate, auto, utilities, manufacturing, infrastructure. ये यहाँ पे आपको पूरा green और lime green दिख रहा है. These sectors have again, they have also given returns which are 3, 4, 5 times the return of Nifty. And ये on a 3 year, 5 year basis, 3 to 5 times. Meaning totally आप देखिए कितना बड़ा difference है. Right? So till now, two observations. First, Nifty has not given as crazy return as people think. The large cap is in line with its average. If you look at micro cap, small cap, mid cap, 3, 4, 5 times the return of Nifty. If you look at select sectors like cyclicals, PSU driven sectors, lot of those, you can see that the return is again 2, 3, 4 times the return of Nifty. Now let's look at the other part. You can see here, consumer, healthcare, IT, ESG, good governance, financial services, banking, FMCG, all of this. These parts, if you see here, for most of them, the return is in line with Nifty or less than Nifty, right? So what you can find is that while Nifty has given return in line with its average, micro cap, small cap, mid cap has given return 2, 3 times of Nifty. There are certain sectors which have given much higher return than Nifty. And there are certain sectors which have given return in line with Nifty or even underperformed Nifty. This is last 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Now you come to a more nearer period, like say since 52-week high, 1 month, 3 months, 6 months. Now look at it here. Last 6 months, all these hot sectors, they are down. If you take from 52-week high, all these hot sectors, deep red. And then you see last 6 months, best performing sector, healthcare, IT, right? So the sectors which were doing very, the sectors which are exhibiting underperformance on a 2, 3, 5 year basis, they have started to outperform on a recency basis. The sectors which were very hot on a 2, 3, 5 year basis, they are deep in the red in recent times. So there is a rotation in the market. So what is happening is that while everybody is trying to focus on what will happen in the market, what is the impact of macroeconomics, what is the impact of US interest rate, what is the impact of US presidency, the market is only, the stock market hasn't corrected as much, but sectors have rotated. I'll give you another example. Now you take value. You take 2, 3, 4, 5 years, the value index has shown massive outperformance and high quality, good governance has been underperforming. You take last 6 months, value index negative return, quality index positive return, right? So what is happening is that things have started to rotate or things have started to change in the market. So key point is that if you see with both these data sets, what we have actually seen, first thing is that in the overall market, 50-60% or 70% of the market is still large cap. 50-60% of the market is still banking, IT, pharma, healthcare, consumer. But these things have been underperforming Nifty. There are some parts of the market, like the cyclicals, like the railway, infrastructure, PSU, defense, all these things. They have outperformed the Nifty by a margin, like say 3, 4, 5 times. So what is key for the investors? Key for the investors is that the money has still been going in the last 3 years. The money is still going in the sectors and segments of the market which have done well in the past. Whereas, in English, there is a saying, you have to shoot where the rabbit will be. So the fund flow data shows people are shooting where the rabbit was 1 year back. Whereas in the last 3 to 6 months, the market has already changed. The rabbit has moved somewhere else. Just use it as a metaphor. In Mumbai, there is one guy who's in deep trouble for shooting something somewhere. So this is just a metaphor, right? We are not shooting anything anywhere. But the key point is that everybody focuses a lot on the macros and the external market environment. Whereas in reality, we have to see what is in our portfolio. Today, if I go by the industry flows, the data clearly shows that people's portfolios are still lying or the money is still going in performers of the past. Whereas in the last 3 to 6 months, the market is rotating and something else is performing. I think that is what one needs to keep in mind. Last thing is something on valuation. I said for a moment back, that market has not gone up. As I know if you look at large cap, market hasn't gone up as much as people make it out to be. So look at it this way. Whenever somebody tells me market bahut chal gaya hai, I can quickly understand that they are talking from the bottom of COVID. See, because Tarun, what this data deliberately, we are in the end of December, 31st December data. If you go 5 years back, it's December 2019. If you go 4 years back, it is December 2020, and we are here, right? Now, if you see in the last 5 years, Sensex was 41,000. It is now 78,000. This is 31st December. Ab thoda chala hoga, last 2 din mein. What it shows is that in 5 years, Sensex has less than doubled. So in 5 years, 13.6% compounded, that is Sensex. If you add dividends, 15% compounded, right? In this period, EPS has also more than doubled. PE multiple on a trailing basis has gone down and ROE of companies has actually improved. So in last 5 years, Sensex has earnings have compounded 17%, Sensex has compounded 15%. So what is happening is that in between these two, there was COVID. And here Sensex was 25,000. So what happens is If I start my reference point from 25,000 and I tell you साहब 4.5 साल में सेंसेक्स 3 गुना हो गया, तो आप बोलोगे बस 4.5 साल में 3 गुना, ये तो अति हो गई, कमाल हो गया, ऐसा कैसे हो सकता है? It's too much, it's gone up a lot. But when it hit 25,000, we were thinking that we all will be dinosaurs. COVID case fatality rate will be 5%. Vaccine will take 10 years. Most banks will go under. So our belief at the bottom of COVID was that world will come to an end, and it was pricing the worst case scenario. But the fact is that none of the worst case scenario played out. Before COVID also, Sensex was 40,000. Few months after COVID also, it was above 40,000. Lot of the worst case scenario which was being factored at 25,000, none of that worst case scenario played out. The case fatality rate was well below 0.5%, forget 5%. Vaccine did not take 10 years, it took 6 months. And no banks went under, right? Everything just bounced back after that. So what I would say is that if you start your calculation from the wrong reference point, you will make the wrong conclusion. If you see in reality, whether it take last 4 years or last 5 years, pre-COVID, post-COVID, market has gone in line with its earnings. What has gone up a lot that I've already shared with you. What has gone up a lot is all these things which are in the top half. And what has kept the market realistic is all these things which are in the bottom half. So what you need to do in your portfolio is to reduce the risk. Move from the stuff which has gone up a lot to stuff which has been underperforming. That would reduce your risk. Move from excessive exposure to smaller market caps into larger caps. Move from weak governance into good governance. Move from value into quality. Move from cyclicality into secular. So these are, some of the observations, some of the highlights. And lastly, I would say the same thing again, that the risk is not in the market. The risk is in our portfolio construct. I think that is something that people need to spend more time in reviewing. So I'll pause here, Tarun. Thanks for listening me out. If there are anything, if you think I have missed out or if there are any questions, I'm happy to cover.
No, I think Ashish, very, very relevant subject you touched upon, and I think that is where the investor return versus investment returns are always different, right? I remember Axis Mutual Fund has done that study in 2022 where the equity fund returns have been excess of 17-18%, but actual investor returns have been 11-12%, right? So there has been a 6-7% return difference between investors and the investment return. And this keeps happening every time. So what do you think? Ashish, I want you to really touch upon a lot of behavior mistakes investor do. And every day I keep getting questions like this coming from investors कि लास्ट 3 साल में मेरा स्मॉल कैप इतना बढ़ चुका है, आप लोग स्मॉल कैप में क्यों नहीं डाल रहे हैं, आप लार्ज कैप्स में क्यों रख रखा है आपने पैसा. So I think this is opposite to what they should actually do. So I want you to give a little perspective. Why does this happen, right? Why do investors behave opposite to what they should actually do? If you have some, just a minute. Why does investor behave like this? And any practical suggestions you have? I know you spoke about this framework, but I don't think investors have the wherewithal to look at data the way you have spoken about. Some simple structure, some simple framework you feel can help investors in this part. I think she has given you a request, Ashish, to unmute.
Yeah, I actually, just a habit. When I stop talking, I mute it by mistake. So no worries. Okay. So, see, what I was saying was that I'll tell you on a lighter note or a funnier note, and I'll also tell you something on a more serious note, right? So let's do the funny part first. Okay. एक तरीका क्या होता है, मैं आपको एग्जांपल देता हूँ. अभी आपको स्क्रीन दिखेगा मेरा. ओके. बोलने का क्या मतलब है कि जिस चीज के मीम्स दिखते हैं ना, कैन यू सी दिस? You're able to see this? So क्या है कि you can see, right? There is a meme here. Can you see the screen, Tarun?
Yes, I can see that.
So see, now what is happening is 3-4 years back, there was a belief कि HDFC बैंक, एशियन पेंट्स, बजाज फाइनेंस ये सब लेके बैठने का है। हाँ, और ये ITC कभी नहीं चलेगा, PSUs कभी नहीं चलेगा, गवर्नमेंट के कंपनी में पैसा नहीं बनता है, इस तरीके का चीजें लोग बोलते थे। करेक्ट। नाउ व्हाट इज हैपनिंग, what was considered to be consensus in the past has become contrarian today. See, I'll give you another example. That I'm just showing you memes because मैं देखता हूँ सोशल मीडिया पे जिसका मीम बनता है ना, उसको ट्रैक करना चाहिए। सी नाउ व्हाट इज दिस सेइंग, पहले लोगों का बिलीफ था कि भाई HDFC बैंक में तो कुछ गलत हो ही नहीं सकता। आजकल लोग देखो HDFC बैंक का भी मीम्स बना रहे हैं। राइट, आई गिव यू
Right.
एग्जांपल, आई गिव यू अनदर एग्जांपल। ये सब सी देयर इज वन मोर कमिंग अप। I don't know if it is big enough to read. You can read it.
Yeah, I think too small, but I can read Bajaj Finance shareholder to Nvidia shareholder. Yes, now it's better.
हाँ,
Who are wondering why their stock is down after good results.
ये पहली बार हो रहा है क्या ऐसा? Right. So why this meme has come? Because last 3 years, if I'm not wrong, Bajaj Finance profits have grown by 40-50%, but share price didn't move.
Yes.
Okay. So why I'm showing these memes or why I'm giving these examples is because 3 साल पहले, 4 साल पहले, whatever was considered to be consensus, वो इस कदर हो गया है कि now that is contrarian. और 3 साल 5 साल पहले जिन चीजों के मीम्स बन रहे थे, those things have now become consensus. So 3 साल 5 साल पहले मीम्स बनते थे PSUs के और ITC जैसे स्टॉक्स के. Now that has become consensus. Everybody thinks भाई that is the way to go. और 3 साल 5 साल पहले लोग क्या बोलते थे कि बस HDFC बैंक, एशियन पेंट्स, बजाज फाइनेंस ये सब लेके बैठो, बाकी सब लेने की क्या जरूरत है. Now that has underperformed. अब उसका मीम्स बनना चालू हो गया है. Right? Now these memes are just what the investors are thinking about. It's just a form of expression. Like everything you don't have to learn by just watching CNBC, right? You can learn by watching what normally investors are joking about. That also tells you, right? एक stand-up comedian जब joke करता है, it shows you society का क्या हाल है, right? So same
Right.
way, what investors make memes about, that tells you कि भाई this is the level of frustration or this is what they are trying to express. And so you mentioned कि भाई how do we ensure that the investor gets the return of the investment and the investor is able to be in the right portfolios. One of the ways to do it is to ensure that जो चीज बहुत पॉपुलर होता है उसके पीछे नहीं भागना चाहिए. एंड जो चीज के ऊपर मीम्स बन रहे हैं, वो मीम का बोलने का मतलब ये है कि समथिंग विच इज कॉन्ट्रेरियन, समथिंग विच इज अगेंस्ट द कंसेंसस. आई थिंक if you are able to be contrarian, if you are able to stand away from the crowd, if you are able to be away from consensus, and if you can think slightly differently. Let me put another example. Then you see March 2020 में एक महीने में मार्केट 40% गिरा नीचे. राइट. सो तरुण, हाउ कैन 20, मतलब मेरे को याद है 5 मार्च 2020 को भी निफ्टी 11,000 था, तो मंथ एंड आते आते 8,700 हो गया. तो एक महीना क्या 3 हफ्ते में 30-35% गिर गया. अब आप सोचिए कि भाई ये 3 हफ्ते में 30-35% कैसे गिर सकता है. when there are only sellers and there are no buyers, everybody just wants to sell. Now question is, why does everybody want to sell? क्योंकि उनको फ्यूचर नहीं दिखता. उनको लगता है बस केस फेटालिटी रेट 5% होगा और वैक्सीन 10 साल में आएगा और सारी बैंकें डूब जाने वाली है, तो भाई जिस भाव में बिकता है उस भाव में बेचो और भागो यहां से. सो इट वॉज अ सिनेरियो वेयर पीपल कुडंट विजुअलाइज द फ्यूचर. पीपल थॉट अभी हम ही लोग डायनासोर है, दुनिया खत्म होने वाला है. दैट वॉज मार्च 2020. अब आप सोचो कि मार्च 2020 में कौन खरीद सकता है. हु विल बाय. जैसे बफेट साहब का बोलते हैं ना, बी ग्रीडी व्हेन अदर्स आर फेयरफुल, बी फेयरफुल व्हेन अदर्स आर ग्रीडी. सो यू थिंक कि भाई मार्च 2020 में कौन खरीदेगा. हु विल बी एबल टू बाय. वो ही खरीदेगा कि भाई जब सब लोग ने डिसाइड कर लिया कि दुनिया खत्म होने वाला है, तभी जिसके दिमाग में थोड़ा खिड़की है, खुला है कहीं पे कि हाँ भाई ये बराबर बोल रहे हैं. लेकिन अल्टीमेटली ह्यूमन बीइंग्स आर एंटरप्रेन्योरियल इन नेचर. राइट. द लिविंग हिस्ट्री ऑफ द वर्ल्ड सेज दैट ह्यूमन बीइंग्स आर मोस्ट एंटरप्रेन्योरियल. कुछ ना कुछ जुगाड़ करके सिचुएशन में से निकलेंगे. तो जब सबने डिसाइड कर लिया है कि हम ही लोग डायनासोर है, तब जिसके दिमाग में कुछ खिड़की खुला है कि भाई नहीं नहीं इसमें से भी निकलेंगे, पास्ट में तो निकलते आए हैं हम लोग, तो वही खरीदेगा. Who is a little bit open minded and who is against the basic flow. जैसे मैं आपको एग्जांपल देता हूं, उसके 1.5 साल बाद अक्टूबर 2021 में मार्केट 19,000 तक आ गया था. बोले यार अभी 1.5 साल पहले तो सब डूबने का बात कर रहे थे, अभी क्या हो गया. बोलते अभी हम लोग का अमृत काल आने वाला है. सी वी आर एज इन्वेस्टर्स एंड ह्यूमन बीइंग वी आर सो फनी. In March 2020 we were convinced the world will come to an end, भागो यहाँ से, और 1.5 साल में हम ही लोग एक दूसरे को बोल रहे हैं कि भाई अपना तो अमृत काल आने वाला है। तो अक्टूबर 2021 में कौन बेचेगा? वही बेचेगा जो बोलेगा हाँ बराबर है, अमृत काल आने वाला है, लेकिन कल सुबह थोड़ी आने वाला है यार, right? So you have to be anti-consensus, you have to be slightly contrarian, you have to be open-minded. When everybody tells you one thing, is your mind open to the opposing possibility also? Right? Like, see, everybody generally thinks that if Mr. Trump comes, he'll put 60% tariff on China and China will be in trouble. Right? तो I always tell them, भाई तुम 4 साल पहले जो थे वो सेम आदमी तुम हो क्या? 4 साल में तो सब बदल जाते हैं यार, वो तो यूएस प्रेसिडेंट है। Correct? So the point is that we can enjoy better performance if we don't get carried away with the herd. If we can stand apart, if we can keep some windows open in our mind, we can be open-minded, anti-consensus, and we can stand apart and do slightly different. Like if we do what everybody else is doing, then we'll not be able to get different results. I think that is the key thing to keep in mind.
Oh, Ashish, I think very well said. But when we work with our clients, working this question which I ask you, how we tackle this question? We ask our clients to create 3 different buckets in their overall piece, life, right? Safety
जी,
bucket, stability bucket, and aspiration bucket, right? सेफ्टी बकेट है कि कल को कुछ भी हो जाए मैं इससे ज्यादा गरीब नहीं हो सकता हूँ. आई वॉन्ट दिस काइंड ऑफ मनी टू बी अवेलेबल फॉर माई एंजाइटी. आई नीड दिस काइंड ऑफ मनी टू बी ऑलवेज अवेलेबल 12
yeah,
month of my expenses or whatever it is. Stability is which is 10 year away. I can take risk whether a 30% market falls, it doesn't matter because this money is a 10-year money. And aspirational money is the money जहां पे मेरी सेफ्टी और स्टेबिलिटी को टेक केयर हो गया है, तो बाकी बचे हुए पैसे पे मैं हाई रिस्क ले सकता हूँ, कॉन्सेंट्रेटेड बेट्स ले सकता हूँ.
yeah,
Why not crypto also, right?
yes,
I am still not able to find an answer about crypto, but I am saying that if somebody believes in crypto in his aspirational investing style, he can always look at
of course,
crypto
yeah,
also, right?
yeah,
So what is your view, right, when you look at all these high growth, let's say today when I talk, Hyundai China, Korea is available at a 5p, and Hyundai India got listed at 30p. Maruti is available at 42p. In China, the Samsonite is available at a 10p. India, it is available at 42p, the Safari
yeah,
stock.
yeah,
So I think you guys are asset managers, and I think you have a lot of data across the globe, right?
yeah.
So आप लोग फिर why do we not create a international diversified structures which can give much more superior returns or much more value to the clients? I just feel this is also opposite, right?
Yeah.
Why new fund offers also keep coming in that, right? Why not for these value structures? Why not any structure for China is coming? Because China
Sure.
is the cheapest today, right? So
Yes.
how do you take something like this?
So, whatever examples you are giving, I agree with them because they all are about being slightly contrarian or slightly different in the thought process, right?
Yeah.
Like even we try to, whenever we launch products, we try to ensure that we are not with the flow or we are not with the consensus. So let me give you 2, 3 examples and I'll come to the China part also. So let us say this full year, this full year, everybody was offering funds which were all these manufacturing, defense, energy, utility, PSU, infra, etc. But this year we launched funds which were high, ESG, high governance, uh, healthcare. Like we launched healthcare fund in February, it is up 35% now. But at the beginning of the year, nobody would have cared to put money in healthcare. So then BFSI, right? Digital. So we have offered funds which are very different from what the industry has offered. I'll give you an example. Like last year, everybody was launching multi-asset funds. We have a multi-asset fund which is say 25-30% gold. Most multi-asset funds were 10% or lower. In last 6 months, when equity has given, BSE 500 return in last 6 months is zero. Lot of multi-asset funds return is negative. Our return is positive because we started offering funds with high exposure to gold last year. So I completely agree with you. We have to be against the grain. We have to be contrarian. Now coming to the part in China, and by the way, your point about Bitcoin also or crypto in general is also about being open-minded. बिकॉज जनरली लोग क्या बोलते हैं कि भाई ये सब नहीं समझ में आता है, कुछ मत करो. It's just about being open-minded. See, if dollar is consistently under challenge, right? If the world doesn't have a reserve currency, then from time to time, some or the other alternate assets will keep on springing up. Whether it is emerging markets, whether it is crypto, whether it is gold, whether it is silver, all of these are alternate assets which will come into play whenever the dollar is perceived to be under trouble. Now, coming to China, so it's just coincidental that you are asking this. But for example, when it comes to Gift City, we have filed emerging market fund. Like we are launching, nobody's offering any China or any emerging market. We are the only ones who's launching an emerging market fund. Obviously we didn't speak about this before. It's just coincidental that you asked. But yes, I agree with you. It's not necessary that for Indians all the money should be in India. If you ask me, for Indians, you should have money in emerging markets. You gave a great example of China, but take example. In emerging markets, there are three different types. All are not like India. There are some emerging markets which are like China, which have a completely different market, right? There are some emerging markets which are like, which thrive on commodities, like Middle East, Indonesia, Brazil. They thrive on commodities. There are some emerging markets which are superior on technology, like Taiwan, South Korea, right? There are some emerging markets like Vietnam, etc., which do very well, or Mexico, which do very well because they export to US and to many other countries. So we are ourselves creating an emerging market fund, and we are the first one which is launching an emerging market fund ex India, because we know that, let's say if I talk to you and if I talk to other Indian investors, the problem is that most emerging market funds will again put 25% back into India. अभी हमारा तो सबका पूरा पैसा ही लगा हुआ इंडिया में है, तो हम ऐसे फंड में डालेंगे जो फिर से 25% इंडिया में डालेगा, तो हमारा क्या डाइवर्सिफिकेशन होगा? We are the first player to launch an emerging market fund which does not invest in India. It is emerging market ex India. So I completely agree with you. You will make money when you are contra or when you're different. But I do have one point to make about valuations in India versus valuations in China. Just if you can spare 30 seconds. See, there is a science to it. देखिए क्या होता है, वैल्यूएशन का आकलन या एनालिसिस हम लोग हमेशा पी मल्टीपल से करते हैं. और पी मल्टीपल का एक इंटरप्रिटेशन ये है कि भाई अगर किसी का 20 का पी मल्टीपल है, तो इसका क्या मतलब है कि इफ द ईपीएस इज 1 रुपी, देन यू अबाउट 20 years of earnings. Correct? Now, if EPS is 1 rupee and you are willing to pay 20 years of earnings, तो P मल्टीपल का एक मतलब ये भी होता है कि ये कंपनी, ये कंट्री, इसका फ्रेमवर्क आने वाले 20 साल तक रहेगा, क्योंकि आपने 20 पी मल्टीपल दिया है ना. तो 1 rupee remains 1 rupee, आपने तो 20 साल का अर्निंग का पैसा दिया है आज. फॉर 1 rupee of cash flow, you are paying 20 times, right?
Right.
So what happens is that it is historically seen and studied and analyzed that countries which are a democracy, they always have higher PE multiple. Countries which have good law of the land, good frameworks, उसका visibility लंबा होता है. Unfortunately, what has happened in China, they are much superior to us on technology and many things, but unfortunately their PE multiple has collapsed. The reason being that lot of businesses, lot of businessmen, they have acted very harshly on them. Right? So what happens is, I'm not naming names, but say a darling of the markets, the IPO was supposed to come. One of the hottest founders, who's most revered and most celebrated founder globally, not just in China, right? He was put in house arrest, the IPO was cancelled. So what happens is that, boss, if you can put a entrepreneur or a founder of a company under house arrest, तो उसका PE मल्टीपल कैसे दोगे ना आप? समझोगे मैं एक कंपनी चला रहा हूं जिसका PE मल्टीपल 20 है, पता चला कल में गायब हो गया, तो कैसे होएगा उसका PE मल्टीपल कैसे आएगा? How will you be able to visualize the future? So countries which have democracy, in the last few years, the biggest learning is that to be an effective capitalist, you need to be a democracy, because rule of law, judiciary, media, all of these function, and within that the business can function in a predictable manner only if there is a democracy. If one person can decide that ये edtech company, gaming company, ये सब नहीं चलेगा, इसका IPO cancel कर दो, so then the visibility or the PE multiple goes down. So there is a reason, there is some reason why PE multiples are higher in some countries and lower in some countries. The explanation flows through governance and visibility of the bankable future, basically.
I think our PSU stocks were given a similar kind of PE, right? Almost 3 years before, right? Yeah. So that was also a challenge, right? And I think
Yes.
after maybe investors feeling more
positive about the government stance on PSU sectors. I don't know
See,
why.
our PSUs, why did our PSUs get a derating? Why our PSUs were trading at 5-6 PE multiple? If you see 2017, 18, 19, 2017, 16, 2018, HPBP, IOC, all of the stocks were flying. But in 2018, suddenly the government came and said, now oil price has gone up, all these companies will have to absorb 1 rupee of subsidy. The stocks were down 30% in a single day. उसका अर्निंग उतना ही है, पी मल्टीपल डीरेट हो गया. सो क्या होता है, whenever somebody interferes with the visible trajectory of a company, the P multiple gets derated.
True, true. Ashish, you want to, I'm sure you and your company has a lot of research around the macros across the globe, right? So maybe you want to give a little bit outlook because we are in a start of the year, at least on Indian equity, US equity, your view on interest rates in India, your view on rupee in India. I think maybe, and can we make some sense out of it? Gold, silver, I think which asset class you feel are better asset classes? How should the portfolio construction should be done if somebody want to build a new portfolio currently?
So, if you ask me, I personally feel that, 2024, we were lucky. Bachte bachate nikal gaye. A lot of things where there were various junctures in 2024 when things could have gone wrong. So, 2024 ka jo return hai na, like Nifty is only 9% up. That's fine. That's a normal year. But small and mid cap and the, big move, that has been a bit of a surprise, right? Because in 2024, many things could have gone wrong, but the market was absolutely Teflon coated. I mean, market did not react negatively to anything. Now, 2025, if you see when we are starting, so, there are many uncertainties. See, for example, Mr. Trump becoming president. I think before that, you can see that the geopolitics has escalated. West Asia war has accelerated. Even before going, these guys are supplying missiles to Ukraine, telling them to shoot deep inside Russia. They're supplying equipment to Taiwan. China is making big comments on Taiwan. So I think before going, one particular administration is making things very complex, and then a new administration will come in. Number two is that previously people were talking about, hard landing, soft landing. Nowadays in US, they're not talking about any landing. We were thinking how many rate cuts they will do. But if you see now, their economy seems to be going strong, and we are uncertain about how many rate cuts they will do. Their rate cuts are important for us because, if the dollar is strong, it is putting pressure on the rupee. And anybody who is a foreign investor investing into India, if they know that the rupee is going down, they'll postpone their investment. See, in a good year, if you get 10-12% return on the Nifty or Sensex, and if you're going to lose 2-3% just by rupee depreciation, then they'll postpone the investment. So, change of US government, the US monetary policy, all of this impact on the dollar, I think this is one bunch of uncertainties that are there. Secondly, related to somewhat related to this, but otherwise also, our slowdown in GDP growth, mixed up, corporate performance. This is another thing to watch for. Third is in our country, unfortunately, budget always seems to be an event which people really, actually budget is supposed to be, more like a procedural thing, but in our country, big announcements or, something or the other, the market does pay a lot of attention to the budget. So my sense is that there are a lot of events bunched up in the next 30 to 45 days, right? And I think that, market won't go anywhere in a hurry. If you see now for a long point in time, now we are at a situation where BSE 500 return till 31st December, BSE 500 return was zero on a 6-month basis. Last 2 days, it may have gone up a little bit, but market is going nowhere since the last 6 months, right? It is still close to what 4th June it was, and first it went up, then it fell. We went to 26,000, again it fell. So market, like I showed you in the data also, market is going nowhere. Only there is sector rotation which is happening, right? Cyclical to secular, small mid cap to maybe a bit of large cap, value to growth, and some sector rotation. Instead of defense and infra and all, it is IT pharma which is outperforming. So some sector rotation is happening, but market is going nowhere. And I don't think it is going to go anywhere in a hurry. My personal opinion is that first half of 2025 or the first 3-4 months of 2025 will be mixed, and we'll get some certainty or some clarity or some positive trajectory only in the second half, according to me. Because only in the second half will be more clear how our economic performance, how our GDP, interest rates, external environment, all these things, how they are shaping up. First 3-4 months, there will be turbulence. We'll only know in the second half of the year. So I think 2025 first half, कोई आपका ट्रेन बस कुछ मेरे को तो नहीं लगता कुछ गाड़ी छूटने वाली है. I think the first half is going to be mixed. Second half, maybe you'll get more clarity. I think gold definitely is, even in 2023, we were advocating funds with higher gold exposure. It has worked well. I think gold will still be in play. On your point on crypto, I myself said that, anything which is an alternative asset compared to dollar, from time to time, it will come into play. And I just feel that, any good asset allocation of a conservative or a moderate investor should have gold allocation. I think it will do well. We do have silver in our portfolios, but all the silver that we have in our portfolios is arbitrage. It's hedged. We produce 9-10% return in silver arbitrage itself, but that is all hedged position. We don't own naked position in silver because we find that it's not a diversification. A lot of time we have found that silver is positively correlated with equity. So only gold is being used as a hedge, not so much silver. Silver is just being used to produce some arbitrage returns. If you see rupee, I think yes, rupee being under pressure is a big challenge for us. That's why I said we'll have more clarity after a few months. But right now, I don't think the pressure is going anywhere.
So I think request everyone, if you have any questions, please write in your chat box. If you have any question for Ashish, please write there. Till then, Ashish, couple of questions. One is, can you talk about, we ask all our speakers to talk about one book which has changed your life. I think book or anything you want to share. I think which has been like a turning point, or which stays with you today also, whenever you look at investing or any part of your life. I think that will be very useful for all of us to learn.
See, I think it's not just from reading, but maybe now as you grow older or as you observe a lot of things, it's not just reading. Maybe reading has also influenced. But one thing I've learned that everybody spends too much time looking for certainty. See, when you're investing, whether it is life, whether it is professions, whether it is anything, everybody spends too much time looking for certainty. If we get used to the idea that things are uncertain and then plan things, I think that is always better. See, क्या होता है जैसे let me stick to investing, right? Because I am not here to talk philosophy. So let me stick to investing. क्या होता है कि हम लोग सब ये सोचते हैं कि स्टॉक मार्केट अच्छा करेगा तो पूरा पैसा इक्विटी में डाल दो, राइट? फिर पूरा पैसा इक्विटी में डालने के बाद हम सोचते रहते हैं ट्रम्प जीतेगा तो क्या होएगा, यूक्रेन में मिसाइल गिरेगा तो क्या होएगा. अरे भाई कुछ भी हो सकता है, करेक्ट? तो ऐसा पोर्टफोलियो बनाओ ही मत ना कि भाई ऐसा पोर्टफोलियो बनाओ ही मत ना कि मिसाइल गिरने पे आपका पोर्टफोलियो पहले गिरेगा, राइट? मतलब मिसाइल तो कहीं और गिरेगा, ऐसा लगा आपका पोर्टफोलियो पे मिसाइल गिरा है, राइट? So what I've seen is that people spend too much time looking for certainty, whereas we know for a fact that there is nothing certain. So if you get used to uncertainty and then plan accordingly, so you should be happy with optimizing. Actually ये सब क्यों होता है? क्योंकि सब लोग maximize करने में लगे रहते हैं. Actually, if you accept the fact that there is uncertainty and you make your portfolio such that it can weather all the uncertainty, and you believe in optimizing rather than maximizing, I think that is the way to be. I think all successful investors, all seasoned investors, all investors who ultimately in the long run do very, very well, they would do well if they optimize rather than maximizing. And if they get used to uncertainty rather than looking for certainty. Like, once I had done a whole session for our clients, it was called Thrive in Gray. मेरे कि भाई दुनिया में कुछ भी ब्लैक या व्हाइट नहीं, सब ग्रे है, तो आप ग्रे में कैसे ऑपरेट करने का. लेकिन जैसे देयर इज अ फेमस फिलोसोफर, आई थिंक ही एफ स्कॉट फिट्जजेराल्ड, अमेरिकन फिलोसोफर, उसका सबसे फेमस कोट है ना उनका कि भाई द टेस्ट ऑफ फर्स्ट रेट इंटेलिजेंस इज द एबिलिटी to hold opposing ideas in your mind and still retain your ability to function. So if you can function in uncertainty, if you can function when there is a lot of gray, then you will be successful. If you keep looking for certainty, if you keep looking for clarity, then you will be caught on the wrong foot.
Very interesting, Ashish. Very interesting.
Ashish, let me come to my last question of the evening. Though
जी
we
sir.
don't want to let you go, but I think considering time limit, this last question is: we came across a lot of investors who are managed portfolio also in indexes, mutual funds, but they continue to have a very large direct equity portfolio also. And I have seen them, I think, not doing justice with the direct equity portfolio, but there is a general feeling that डायरेक्ट इक्विटी बहुत अच्छा रिटर्न देती है. तो अगर वो 10 करोड़ का म्यूचुअल फंड का पोर्टफोलियो है तो 7 से 8 करोड़ का पोर्टफोलियो डायरेक्ट इक्विटी का भी रखते हैं. एंड दैट्स कंप्लीटली अनमैनेज्ड. वो उन्होंने 10 साल पहले जो बनाया था, देयर आर इमोशंस अटैच्ड विद इट. देयर इज नो रीबैलेंसिंग हैपनिंग. इट जस्ट प्लेन मनी. To
Yeah.
investors like them, how would you tackle investors like them? Would you recommend them continue in direct equity, and what is the best strategy according to you?
सी मुझे क्या लगता है, मालूम, मैं कंक्लूजन नहीं ड्रॉ करना. मैं कभी किसी को किसी चीज के लिए मना करता ही नहीं हूँ. बिकॉज मेरे को लगता है कि किसी को भी आप कोई भी चीज के लिए ना बोलो तो वो तो एवरीबडी हैज देयर ओन माइंड, एवरीबडी हैज देयर ओन प्रेफरेंसेस.
Right.
My favorite movie is this movie called Bruce Almighty. It has Jim Carrey, but it's a very deep movie. Jim Carrey movies are generally funny. This one is also funny, but it's a very deep movie. It has Morgan Freeman as God. And I
Okay.
love that characterization of God. Like, you would imagine they've shown Morgan Freeman, a person of color, shown as God, and, very different characterization. So in that movie, what he says, and which is practically true. He says कि भाई मैं कुछ भी बदल सकता हूँ लेकिन किसी का free will नहीं बदल सकता हूँ. Meaning that even though I am God, I can change everything, but I cannot influence one individual human being's mind. मैं किसी का mind नहीं बदल सकता हूँ मैं. So generally I don't say no to anybody for anything. That is at least my belief, because I think people have their own journey and their own experience. But what I'll tell you one thing, that the problem is that there's something about managing equity which gives a kick to everybody. And then it's about dealing in anecdotes. Like everybody loves to say that देखो मैंने ये stock लिया था तो ये ऐसे हो गया. Right? And the biggest problem of a demat statement is that there is no IRR. And the biggest problem of a demat statement is there's no IRR. The second biggest problem is does not have index return, does not have benchmark return. Right? इधर मतलब पूरा एक फैक्ट्री खड़ा कर दिया. मतलब देयर आर 33 एनालिस्ट कवरिंग 900 कंपनीज. सुबह से शाम तक लोग पीछे लगे रहते हैं कि भाई एक साइंटिफिक पोर्टफोलियो बनाया जाए जो BSE 500 को बीट करे. उसी में लोगों का पसीना निकल जाता है. कुछ समय बीट करता है, कुछ समय नहीं बीट करता है, फिर 3 साल में बीट कर रहा है लेकिन 1 साल में क्यों पीछे है. इतना डेटा, इतना ट्रांसपेरेंसी, इतना एनालिसिस, ऑल ऑफ दैट फॉर बेरली सम फ्यू परसेंटेज पॉइंट्स और बेसिस पॉइंट्स. तो पूरा एक इंडस्ट्री लगा हुआ है जहां पे पूरे कंट्री के ब्राइटेस्ट स्मार्टेस्ट लोग सुबह से शाम तक इसके पीछे लगे रहते हैं. एंड देन दे एंड सी we are not beating the index by buying a bunch of stocks. Stock picking is overrated. Portfolio construction, to have low volatility, low fluctuation, to beat the benchmark consistently by a certain margin, ये सब में बहुत science है. What people think is that fund management or equity management is about picking stocks. Picking stocks is one thing, but picking stocks and making a portfolio laddered or arranged in a certain fashion such that it can beat the benchmark with low volatility, low fluctuation, उसमें बहुत गणित है, बहुत science है. So, but what I feel is that managing equity, people somehow find some kick in it, and some people find an enjoyable experience, and sometimes people do a great job, right? Some people are, good at it. जैसे समझो कि मैं 25 साल से एसेट मैनेजमेंट इंडस्ट्री में काम कर रहा हूँ. अगर मैं पोर्टफोलियो मैनेजर नहीं भी हूँ तो AMC के स्टॉक्स तो मैं एनालाइज कर ही लूंगा. तो आपके जितने क्लाइंट्स हैं वो भी किसी न किसी इंडस्ट्री में काम करते ही है. सो इन सर्टन केसेस दे विल हैव गुड अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ देयर इंडस्ट्री और देयर कॉम्पिटिटर्स और देयर कस्टमर्स.
Or in bull market, everybody becomes an
और
investor.
that also is true that bull markets में like 2023 खास करके 2024 का फर्स्ट हाफ ये कैसा है कि जिसको कम एक्सपीरियंस हो उससे ज्यादा रिटर्न बनता है. राइट? बिकॉज पूरे के पूरे सेक्टर चल रहे हैं ना. मतलब वो वॉर हुआ तो तेल, मेटल, कमोडिटी, PSU, रेलवे, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, गवर्नमेंट ने PLI किया तो डिफेंस, तो क्या पूरे के पूरे सेक्टर चलते हैं. स्टॉक पिकिंग नहीं चलता है. लास्ट 6 months में इट इज अबाउट स्टॉक पिकिंग. इट्स नॉट अबाउट आइडेंटिफाइंग एनी वन सेक्टर. जो नहीं चल रहा था वही चलने लग गया. राइट? सो व्हाट आई एम सेइंग इज दैट I never say no to anybody because people have their own experience, their own journey. But I think they should not give it up, but I do believe that they should continuously keep score. मतलब आपका पोर्टफोलियो और जो भी 2-4 म्यूचुअल फंड में आपने इन्वेस्ट किया उसका पोर्टफोलियो, दोनों का परफॉर्मेंस कंसिस्टेंटली आप कंपेयर करो और फिर बेंचमार्क से भी कंपेयर करो. Then over a period of time you will realize how it is working. See 2023 and first half of 2024 में आपको लगेगा म्यूचुअल फंड वाले क्या कर रहे हैं, इसको तो मैं ही बीट कर रहा हूँ. लास्ट 3 से 6 महीने में धीमे धीमे वो आपका इंप्रेशन चेंज हुआ होगा या होना चाहिए. So in different phases things work differently. Don't give up anything but keep score, and ultimately you will realize that what are the differences.
Thank you very much, Ashish. I'll just sum up my 3-4 learning from today's sessions with you. One important learning is I think we have a habit to I think go with the herd. I think that is what common investors do. I think where the returns are in last 1 year, 2 years, most of the flows I think keeps following that, which is most of the time proven wrong, that the returns are not aligned with that. That is one big learning. The investor return versus investment returns are different because people make this mistake of herd mentality. You mentioned about working on portfolio rather than working on all these gyan, macros, and all those things. You basically have to work on your portfolio. And third part, what you mention is have a mind which is ready for uncertainty. I think that was one very powerful learning. Ashish, I am going rich today. We're going here richer. So thank you very much for sharing your heart out. And it's always a pleasure to have you with us. Thank you very much, Ashish.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
All the
Ashish.
best. Happy New Year
Bye.
to